Hey folks, I'm Cultural Rogue here with Pants404 and Fear Agent. Together, we're Entertainment Value. Today we're going over Square Enix's latest release, Forspoken, which is an Alice in Wonderland-esque tale about fate and the unwillingness to accept it, which is ironic considering that unacceptable is the best word to describe how the game has been received so far.
If you want to save your city, do it your fucking self.
Let's take a trip down the rabbit hole to try and uncover the reasons why Forspoken has suffered such an ill-gotten fate. That journey begins with business model.
Okay, let's start out by commending them on being a AAA title with no pay-to-win or microtransactions, and letting you know Square Enix's corporate philosophy to spread happiness across the globe by providing unforgettable experiences. That's jargon for, we own a lot of shit, we want to sell you a lot of shit, and the newest shit in a long line of shit is Forspoken, developed by Luminous Productions and published by Square Enix. While working on Final Fantasy XIII-2, Square Enix realized the old engine was having some problems, and after a failed launch of Final Fantasy XIV, they had to pivot. So they created a new engine, Luminous Studio, now called Luminous Engine, which Luminous Production uses to make its Luminous games. So what do they do with this shiny new engine? Make a Final Fantasy tech demo, of course, followed by a Final Fantasy game, and after dreaming up that 15th main installment into the series, they drop another Final Fantasy tech demo just in case you needed a little bit more. Then, through the mist and all the Final Fantasy clutter, we see Project Athia, a trailer meant to showcase the power of the PlayStation 5, in a game so mysterious, I thought it was another Final Fantasy tech demo. The game's early marketing campaign is a pretty normal one with a trickle of content. Then, on the road to launch, they ramp it up by pushing this game's release back twice. Then show us how powerful this game's engine truly is by releasing a trailer that shows us these crazy, haunting facial animations. Leading up to release, a demo drops where people didn't quite know what to make of it. Is this a fantasy action RPG or an apple eating simulator? We just don't know. When coupled with confusing identity, with not knowing anything about Luminous Productions, a youngling in today's gaming market, it leads to a not-so-well-received launch that feels like Order 66 has just been announced and Anakin is here to make sure this kid doesn't reach their full potential. Which is sad because this game, despite its flaws, has a good game inside of it. But like a cow sucking on its own udder, this game just keeps getting in its own way. And if you want to get in on a suckle of this teat, it's going to cost you a trendy $70. While you think about quenching your thirst, here are some PC requirements. And just like Anakin, we know it's the inside that counts. So we're gonna further dissect this Padawan like it's a tauntaun on Hoth.
Alright, let's talk about data. Now there's no surprise here, Forspoken player and viewer count has dramatically decreased with their poor launch. It dropped 77% more players and viewers than other comparable open-world action RPG titles. This game's bombing worse than a Star Wars sequel. And with only 15 hours of core game length, it's not a shocker as it comes in a third of the industry standard of this game type. All of this paints a pretty bleak picture for Forspoken, so how does this affect their bottom line? Well, they went from second most purchased game on Steam leading up to launch to an abysmal 125th within 7 days. They're not even on the top 100 games right now. It is painfully obvious that this is a huge blunder for Square Enix, and we do hope they learn their lesson. Now, for legal gray areas and all, we can't recommend anybody use a VPN to purchase and play this game in another country, but if you did, it looks like Turkish gamers have a more reasonable price than those of us paying $70.
Okay, let's talk about optimization and customization. This game is not optimized. It will be a drain even on a high-end PC. And as far as customization goes, there are some good quality of life options available, like automatically picking up items that you walk by, so that's pretty nice. However, it is missing some PC standards like NVIDIA and AMD support settings, as well as a lack of things like key binding on your extra mouse buttons. Our big takeaway, though, is that this game is set up for the PlayStation 5, so it wants you to use a controller. You can get by just fine on keyboard and mouse, but it's a great idea for you to plug that controller in. Unless, of course, you don't own one, and you can't afford it because you just spent $70 on this game. And if that's the case, then I guess Luminous Production thinks you should just get fucked.
Imagine a magical world filled with fantasy creatures and delightful NPCs.
You belong in the lowest city.
Wait a minute, scratch that. Imagine a post-apocalyptic wasteland where you survive by eating apples and battle hordes of zombies. Wait, what the fuck is this place? Imagine A world with Avatar, Mordor, New York City, and other horrifying hellscapes devoid of depth, meaningful side quests, well-executed exhibition, and it's full of frog people. Nailed it! And that's the biggest problem with Forspoken. Not only do we not know what the fuck this game is, neither does the developer. We haven't seen this much wasted potential since Amazon's Rings of Power. The game just gets in its own way, constantly breaking your immersion to force you into some of the worst exhibition sequences we've ever seen. It's like someone tripping and falling and then somehow fucking that up. And there's so much missing depth in this story and world building that they force you into reading lore constantly instead of actually being in the world. You can't pick up a damn feather without the game forcing you into a menu to read about feathers. Come on, we know about feathers. All that being said, there are some great things they did in the world building. The stylization is fantastic, the cutscenes are gorgeous, and the voice acting builds immersion for most of the game, especially between Frey and Cup. Their chemistry really helps this game, and quite frankly, it really shines in the middle and end of the game. Now, on top of all that, the music is immersive and really helps smooth over some of the horrible exhibition. And though devoid of life, the massive world is surprisingly fun to explore, and the game rewards that exploration with dungeons, challenges, and hidden treasure. The world itself is dominated by strong female characters as well, which is a really nice change of pace and creates a strong foundation for the story. You start off as Frey, a brooding young cat burglar with sweet kicks, a dope cat, and trying to survive in Hell's Kitchen. After a failed larceny attempt, Frey finds herself in trouble with a local gang who torches her crash pad and their money for some reason. Not that it matters because you'll never see them again. Now, luckily, as she's brooding over New York City like a washed-up daredevil, she stumbles upon a magical talking bracelet that transports her to Athia, the miasma-stricken land of apples and battletoads.
I wonder how long everything's been in this shitty state.
Now, the story's actually interesting and could have shined, but the execution is so bad that it detracts from the game. Frey as a character doesn't really evolve much, and there are zero meaningful choices for you throughout the entire game, making it feel like there is a lull in the story arc progression halfway through. The beginning and ending are also executed so poorly that both of them pushed us to the edge of our patience. Thankfully, the middle and end game are great, because there's no poorly executed story, and, well, it's focused on the action.
Whether the story is a dumpster fire or a masterpiece is irrelevant, because at the end of the day, the harsh reality is that the story seems to have been written and implemented as an afterthought, and only exists as a delivery system for the combat and traversal spells, making a story a giant suppository that was crammed into the game without lube, ending up as a massive exposition dump, creating an identity crisis, and paradoxically becoming the constipation it was intended to relieve. Once that dump makes its exit though, it allows the player to experience the game as the RPG-light, open-world action platformer it was meant to be, making a ton of areas available to explore, as well as adding a collection of challenging bosses to the map called Nightmares and Abominations. Exploring a massive world with a top-notch traversal system and engaging enemies with very well-designed combat mechanics is really where Forspoken shines brightly. While there are some cut and paste points of interest, and it can feel at times like a checklist simulator, overall, free roaming the world and testing out the abundance of spell combinations during combat is fast-paced, action-packed, and feels great. Said action is a little too easy on easy, but on normal difficulty, you'll find yourself min-maxing and being forced to learn effective spell combinations, which is something that ramps up significantly in hard mode, where poor timing or unpracticed skill can lead to a quick death. The crafting system is pretty well done, allowing the player to customize cloaks and necklaces to become whatever they want it to be, at the cost of some resource gathering. It's an effective workaround to the great stats but shitty cosmetic dilemma that exists in a lot of games. So, what about cool factor and funness? Does Forspoken have it? If you can look past its shortcomings enough to power through to the endgame and accept it as an open-world arcade playground, with its great traversal and combat mechanics, mythical cats, and a unique take on runes in the form of fingernail art, Forspoken undeniably has style, and the cool factor is absolutely there. You just have to go up shit's creek with a turd for a paddle in order to find and appreciate it.
Alright, let's talk community and plan support. So far, there's been very little transparency on the quality and frequency that we can expect for patches. However, patch 1.02 did drop within the first week, Unfortunately, the details of what they fix are a little vague. Now, that being said, the game has no game-breaking bugs that we're aware of, and it's a Square Enix game, so we're pretty sure that there's going to be further optimization on the roadmap. Now, as far as community, honestly, it's pretty small since so many people either didn't buy this game or returned it, that those that do remain are basically just the fans that aren't dissuaded by negative reviews and are generally really helpful and positive. Alright, we're going to wrap this up with some pros and cons. Starting with the pros, this game has great combat mechanics, it's fun to explore, and the music and voice acting is awesome. It's also got impressive spell system with a lot of different combinations, and it's got really cool stylization. Now for the cons. It's a poorly executed story with a lot of immersion-breaking features, and it just feels unpolished with poor optimization, tons of consolitis, and they have the audacity to charge a $70 premium. Okay, taking all that into consideration, let's see what our final price is. Drum roll, please. $44.26. Now, if Square Enix wants to actually build some more value here, what they really need to do is remove the storyline and just let it be, or completely overhaul their approach and do away with the immersion-breaking features with bonus points on fixing their optimization. Now, wrapping this up, what's the most common user feedback? It's not worth the price tag. No shit. Now, does this game meet the hype? It definitely does not meet the hype. Unfortunately, we don't have a ton of faith in them being able to fix this anytime soon, but we'll look back on this game again down the road. In the meantime, if you do want to see other pricing, please check out our other videos, and if you found this pricing helpful and you want to see more pricing for future titles like Hogwarts Legacy or Atomic Heart, then please hit that like and subscribe button and catch our future content. Also, check out our social medias. We'll catch you next time on Entertainment Value.